Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Family Plan 2. And yes, Mark Wahlberg is back with his Apple TV Plus original from director Simon Callan Jones, writer David Cogshell, and here we have Mark Wahlberg back again. A former government operative is attacked, forcing him and his family to go on the run. Pursued across the country, he protects his loved ones while confronting his dark past and deadly enemies. And this... What's funny is I'm pretty sure that the synopsis here is really for the first one, but whatever. This one is not across the country. We're going to Europe! The family goes to Europe. Their daughter's studying abroad, and they want to, spend Christmas with her, and he's on a job. The job turns awry, and it winds up being set up by Kit Harington's Finn, who turns out to be the long-lost half-brother of Mark Wahlberg's character, who wants everything that Mark Wahlberg had with their terrible, evil dad, who had a lot. And we start learning a lot more about Mark Wahlberg's upbringing and all of his money, much to the surprise of his own children and his wife, who are like, "You grew up here in Paris?" And that becomes a pretty consistent running joke in the film. And yes, most of the film they get off to Paris, but, there's action sequences, there's weird characters along the way, they eat some borscht. This is an interesting sequel. It does that sequel thing. It finds a way to shake the story up. It deepens the lore of this story of Mark Wahlberg's character, which, did we want more lore? You might not have wanted it, but you got it. And, it's a little cliche where it's like, you had a long-lost brother who's back for revenge, and it's like, okay. Kit Harington feels like he's in a completely different movie than the rest of the film, because this is like an action comedy. It's an action comedy family film, but like Kit Harington's so intense. It's just like dude's acting like he's in this like crazy action thriller that is brutal and violent. Like, you barely see Mark Wahlberg do any violence. They always like cut away and stuff like that. There's fun shenanigans in terms of chases and stuff like that. That can be exhilarating, but you could tell where the film's like cutting away, trying to hide things in terms of the action. It's a little obvious. It's not the most polished action sequences, but I think for like a family comedy film, action film, it works well enough. Because, like, your 6-year-old's not going to be like, why'd they cut away with that? They're trying to hide stuff. No, it's like, I'll do that. But I think this will scratch the itch for the kids. And, you have some interesting choices where, like, the daughter has a very sexy, muscular boyfriend that they meet coming out of the shower. And the mom's all like, ooh. And Mark Wahlberg's like, okay, Mrs. Robinson. And yes, Mark Wahlberg has very consistent references to, like, pop culture, specifically movies throughout this movie. I'm just like, those are some interesting choices. And, Mark Wahlberg's doing his thing. He fits a silly dad character, and then there's some moments where he gets a little bit more intimidating, and you're just like, oh, I've seen that Mark Wahlberg before. So, like, I think this film, like, the character fits what Mark Wahlberg's going for, and I think I always enjoy Michelle Monaghan, and I think she's very charismatic here. A lot, like, their son gets these moments where it's like, he has to learn how to drive, so of course he's going to wind up driving them through a whole entire chase sequence and stuff like that. Their son, the youngest son's actually a lot of fun. He has some funny moments. This film's not the most inspired film. I honestly liked it a little bit more than the first one, to be honest. It's not the most, like I said, it's not the most inspired sequel. It's leaning into a lot of cliches and tropes that you see from a lot of action sequels. And, it's not the most consistently funny. The action is not the best. But a lot of these elements work well enough to engage a family. And there will be some moments where, like, the adults in the room will chuckle at a joke and feel a little bit of thrills. But, I think this leans more like, I think the family as a whole will enjoy it more. It's one of those types of films that, You have kids at different levels in this film, and they're all dealing with their own personal things. And, you know, you have the mother who has her own thing where it's like they're all entrenched in the past of the father, but like she has this new opportunity, but now they're all like set up and they're on the run. And, you know, it has its moments. And it might not be the most inspired film and most inspired sequel, but it's a streaming movie and it scratches that itch a little bit. And I think if you watch this as a family, I think you could have some fun with it. But those are my thoughts on The Family Plan 2. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.